Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show till Mets do us part. John from Brooklyn, KB reps NJ. With the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? It's real fun. Just like Mookie, I will sign. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Till Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get together.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Til Mets Do Us Part. We are live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Substack, like we are each and every week, or at least starting last week, in those three places. John Saponaro coming to you from North Hollywood, California, where it has finally stopped raining. It rained for about a week, and now things are a bit better before it's supposed to start raining again tomorrow. I don't pay rent and taxes for this kind of weather, but here we are anyway. That means my co-host, Matt Ibanez, holding things down back in New Jersey. Ibby, we have a lot to talk about. Before we do, how you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good, John. Thank you for asking. And, the weather here has been a little bit cold, a little bit rainy. Maybe your California weather is bleeding its way over towards Jersey a little bit more, but it's been freezing. But all in all, I'm doing well. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to our New York Mets. I won't lie. I was a little bit stumped this week in terms of like thumbnail and what I wanted to make. And I was kind of bare of ideas, as I'm wearing the hat, bare of ideas. And thankfully, that article came out yesterday, which we're going to be talking about, from Jeff Passan, talking about our Mets and what's available and who could potentially be dealt away. It kind of sparked something in me, which gave me our thumbnail for this week, talking about change and how we should embrace it with David Stearns, looking at a lot of names that people are curious about, from Brandon Nimmo to Kodai Senga to Brett Baty, Mark Vientos, Jeff McNeil, and Luis Angel Acuna. A lot needs to be talked about when it comes to those names in this episode, and we are going to cover all of it. But as always, Wednesday, red lights on. Let's have some fun.
Let's jump into the comments really quick, because we have a few that are saying, Jeff Cohen, what's with the video? Carlos Ortiz saying screen is small. Game for War saying, what is this, TikTok? We're trying out a new feature here today that StreamYard has just instituted, where you can stream to YouTube simultaneously a vertical and a horizontal video. The vertical video, in theory, is better for folks who are watching on mobile, and the horizontal video is better for folks who are watching on their computer or their YouTube
I will say
TV.
this.
Yeah,
I will
but
say this.
I don't know how it works. I don't know what people are seeing, is my point.
So I was curious on how this was going to work, and guys, you can listen to me right now. I think I can walk you through this. When I posted everything with both horizontal and vertical, I saw that it came up as two options on our YouTube channel, the same exact thing. Now, if you look at the titles of each one, and a majority of you are sending messages in, and I can see you're watching from the vertical, because there's a little vertical box next to your names now on our side. So when I see that, I know you're watching on the vertical side. If you do not like that visual, exit out, go to the other video that's posted on our page, and you'll be able to see the normal horizontal view. I was under the impression that it would come across as a live on this end for YouTube. If it's not that, it's something we're again, toying with. If it doesn't work, we'll nix it. We'll move forward without it. But for now, we wanted to try something out, see how it looks. But majority of you are on the vertical side. If you don't like it, head on over to the horizontal video that is also on our page right now.
Yeah, Paulie S saying, I'm on my laptop and I'm seeing the vertical. Carlos Ortiz saying, I'm on mobile and the screen is too small. Again, we're just trying it out. So if this is lame and weird and too confusing and too convoluted, then maybe next week we won't run the dual platform until it sets itself up, basically where it's like, hey, if you're on your mobile, then it's going to be the vertical video that it defaults to. If you're on something where it looks better horizontal, then it'll be on the horizontal automatically. So I don't know. Again, we're just working it out. So Carson saying the horizontal version shaves off 10 pounds per my StreamYard source. So there you go. Pantries, who cares about the video? Let's talk baseball. Okay. So shout out to everybody who's in the comments right now. We'll get into the baseball conversation right after that. Armand is here. We've got Brad. We've got Nick DeLuca in the house. Madeline Schmidt, Nick Laverty, Carlos Ortiz. Some of these folks already pulled up their comments, but it's all good. Cindy is here. Clink in the house. Lazy Mary is here. Gabrielle is here as well. Ethan KL. Who am I missing? Game for War. We already mentioned Stanley Babich. We scroll down. We keep going. Keith, the media goon himself, is saying, let's not do anything crazy like trading Baty before the Queens baseball convention on December 13th. Who the hell knows? It might happen. I'm not really sure. Meanwhile, in Syracuse, New York is here as well. I think that's a new commenter or new-ish. Mr. Nobody. And that is it as the numbers continue to grow. Ibby, just want to just bring up a couple of comments here that I thought were fun. Ethan KL saying, did John get stuck on the toilet? Okay. Nick DeLuca saying, John too busy yapping about communism to start. Okay.
Let's all right. Let's take it easy with stuff like that.
And Lazy Mary saying John is crying because Tommy Lauren's husband is going to be in the Mets dugout next year, alluding to the fact that JP Arancibia has officially been named the Mets coaching instructor, catching coach, whatever it might be, and is married to that particular individual. Fun comments all. I like where this conversation is going. I'm just kidding. It's not great, but whatever. Still, we plow along because it is time to talk about the changes as per Brad. So, Ibby, I think we should get the easy one out of the way really quick before we dive into the Passan stuff, the Brandon Nimmo stuff. Let's get some of the easy things out of the way. And that first one is that Frankie Montas was DFA'd by the Mets to make room for Nick Morabito on the 40-man roster, and he has officially been released. We hardly knew ye. Frankie Montas, $34 million in change. I think it was 7 starts, 9 appearances. That's all it's going to be. And it's gone. He's gone. It's over. And I think everybody's happy about that.
I think a lot of people get so frustrated about things. And look, there's going to be bad signings. They happen. Nobody's perfect. But I think that a majority of the fan base looks at Frankie Montas as if it is the year, let's say 2012, 2013, where this team didn't have much money. It set them back where they can't do anything. This happens. It's some sunk cost. Sucks. Didn't work. Move forward. Okay. And I'm happy that they look at it and they go, look, this guy got hurt. He's not going to rehab with us. He's not staying here. We don't want him in the building anymore. Like, we're done. Cut the money, take the cash, like, adios. Didn't work. It's not the end of the world. This isn't something that is going to be here for 5, 6, 7 years. Like, nothing along those lines. It happened. It was bad. The idea was there. The idea didn't work. Not every idea is going to work. So adios, Frankie Montas. If anyone saw my stuff that I posted yesterday, be it on X or on TikTok, I tried my best to be like Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire. I'm not Tom Cruise, but I still had some fun with it. So if you're curious on that, I can't play it on here because I don't want to get hit with a copyright. So if you want to listen to me rendition Tom Petty, you can head on over to our TikTok for a quick laugh.
Look, we've got Jeff Cohen saying, do we need to talk about Frankie Montas anymore? Thankfully, no, not after this segment, right? No. We can officially move on as he is officially off the Mets. Look, Ibby, I think you summed it up really well. It was a miss. It was is to this point the worst signing that David Stearns has made in his short Mets tenure. I don't remember every single individual thing he did when he was the president of baseball ops and the GM of the Brewers, but I would venture to say that this might be the worst free agent signing that David Stearns has made in his career, period, while running a Major League Baseball team. I think it's that bad, especially when you look at bang for buck and, you know, what he got out of the salary that is going into it, which is almost nothing. But to your point, it's not 2012. It's not 2013. This is not the cash poor Wilpons. We're not dealing with a situation where the Mets have a sunk cost and it's going to hamstring them. Is a sunk cost and quote unquote dead money, to borrow the football term, on your team ever a good thing? No, but when you have Steve Cohen, you have his money and you have his willingness to invest in the product, you're never going to let a sunk cost stop you from moving forward, from building a contender, from building a team that you hope can go to and win a World Series, so on and so forth. So I think that's the best part of this. It was ugly. We all dealt with it together. People didn't like it when it happened. It seemed like the Mets jumped the market to bring in Montas. You and I talked about it a lot. We understood the thought process, but it's not necessarily, it wasn't a great thought process. It was, hey, this worked with Severino. Maybe it'll work again. It didn't. And now we can all move on. Thankfully. Because it's awful. It was awful and it sucked, but Frankie Montas, he can't hurt you anymore. So now we can fulfill Jeff Cohen's wish and never, ever talk about him again. Another thing of note that we can probably get through pretty quick: Edwin Diaz does not accept the qualifying offer. I think everybody in the world knew that that was going to happen, right? There's no reason why he would. This is his last opportunity to cash in with a really big baseball contract as far as his career is concerned, right? It's not to say that if he signs a 5-year deal, his career is over at the end of it, but this is his last opportunity to sign a 4 or 5-year deal. And so he was never going to take the qualifying offer, especially with a potential work stoppage looming. 4 guys have accepted the qualifying offer, which is more than ever since the qualifying offer has existed. So it's a little strange, but you know, here we are, no surprises. We have Dixon saying you've spent more time talking about Montas than he spent on the mound for the Mets. We're trying to move on, man. That's a good one.
That's an early contender for comment on that. It's early contender. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Do we have to make a new segment called Comment of the Day?
We might have to. I think it's a good idea. We can work on something. We can workshop it.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that, but that is an early contender for it.
That's
anyway,
a good one.
Ibby, look, the Diaz thing is open and shut case. I think the more curious thing, just from a baseball perspective, is that 4 guys took the qualifying offer. The record previously was 3 players across baseball accepting the qualifying offer, and that goes back to the first year of the qualifying offer. So not shocking with Diaz, but a little odd that 4 people have taken it. I think maybe some GMs overplayed their hand a little bit.
I think when we're talking about, you know, a sport that's, you know, making money hand over fist, even though they don't want to admit that, and that's a conversation for another day, when your qualifying offer is going to constantly keep on rising from 16 million to 18 million to 20 million to 22 million, look, some of these guys look at this and they go, hey, I can make $22 million this year, or I can risk it and try to get the years out of something. But odds are I'm probably going to get weighted out, especially with a potential work stoppage ahead next year. Maybe it's best if I just take this 22 million and, you know, let the chips fall where they may moving forward, but I'm going to get this 22. So I'm not shocked that a Trent Grisham takes 22 million. I'm not shocked that Gleyber Torres takes 22 million. When I see those players take that, I again, it's calculated risk by a general manager or a president of baseball ops, whatever, to put that money out there. But there's a good chance that players like that are kind of teetering on that edge to take money like that, they're going to do it. Shota Imanaga, like the whole thing going on with him with Chicago, Cubs deny the option for 3 years at $50-something million. He denies the player option at 15 because he goes, okay, they're probably going to slap the QO on me in hopes to get a pick. So he essentially says no to 15. I'll make an extra $7 million, get to 22. So he's happy. Cubs are happy because they saved $30 million. Like that one kind of makes sense in a way, but the other guys, like, I understand why they took it, because they were probably unsure of their market in terms of years.
I think when you look at this comment from Carson, it makes a lot of sense. I'd say it makes more sense. The players are taking the QO because they know their market will be poor with the compensation pick attached to them, especially if they're not top tier at their position. I really think it comes down to that in a lot of cases. You know, I know we mentioned them all by name, but if you guys want to see it, Armand throwing it out there, it's Brendan Woodruff, Imanaga, Gleyber Torres, and the aforementioned Trent Grisham are the ones who took the deal. Ibby, I tend to agree with you. I think when you look at Woodruff, it makes a ton of sense. The guy has only ever played in Milwaukee. He's getting a lot of money to go back for 1 year. It's a lot more money than the Brewers typically pay. But again, they're looking down the barrel of a potential work stoppage. They were a really good team this year. He gives them a little bit of coverage in terms of, you know, he's an ace potential type player when healthy. He hasn't been healthy a ton, but I understand, and they don't invest a ton of money. So going on a 1 year deal, it's a lot of money to pay for him, but I understand it from both sides. Imanaga was kind of a game of chicken where they don't pick up his option. He doesn't pick up his option. Then they give him the QO. They think they're going to get a comp pick. He's like, nah, surprise. I'm taking the QO because it's more than what I was going to get anyway. And so, you know, there's a little bit of a back and forth there. Gleyber Torres has me scratching my head a bit simply because he was, if you discount like Bo Bichette switching positions, Gleyber Torres was the best second baseman available. Now, I think this is where it comes down to what Carson's saying, where, you know, is anybody going to give Gleyber Torres a big deal and give up picks for Gleyber Torres? Probably not, and that's what it comes down to. And then I'll throw it over to this comment from the True Gemini, who's over on Twitter, saying Yankee fans crashing out over Grisham is so funny. Not to make it a Yankees bash fest, but Ibby, I do think, I kind of alluded to this before, I think this is a situation where Cashman maybe overplayed his hand a bit. Trent Grisham is a career 218 hitter. And I know batting average is not something we get crazy over, but this is the first time in his career he has ever had the offensive season that he put forth. It's a one and done. If he can do it again, wonderful. But attaching the qualifying offer to him, no team is going to bank on him duplicating that. He was also a guy who had a reputation of being a very good center fielder. His metrics on defense took a massive hit. So you're looking at a guy who regressed defensively, which was his bread and butter prior to 2025, and also had a career year offensively. And now the Yankees have put themselves in a position where they kind of have blocked, you know, Dominguez and Jones, and they've blocked a clear avenue to reunite with Cody Bellinger. Now, look, could they find at bats for Cody Bellinger? 100%. But they're paying $22 million to Trent Grisham. He better hit 30 home runs again. He better be that same guy. Because if he's not, that's going to be a real miss. And we're not Yankee fans, but we both have a lot of friends who are Yankee fans. Everybody in the comments, all the viewers, I'm sure have plenty of friends who are Yankee fans. A lot of people are down on Cashman. And this might be another thing come the end of 2026 where people are like, see, told you.
I think, and to bring this all full circle, so we can use, you know, the Mets as a talking point as well. It's about not wanting to run things back because you've seen something, you're like, this doesn't work. We can't just keep running it back and expecting new results. It's the definition of insanity. And when you do something like this, and there's the risk of him accepting that $22 million, which he does, now you have that locked in. You have a center fielder at least, and one could say, well, the market for center field's not that great, so you'll take him for another year. It's like, okay, but your goal is still to keep Cody Bellinger. So when that happens, you're basically running back the same exact team, you know, outside of you making a deal for a pitcher, let's say, but you're running back the same exact team again. And you saw how that ended. I know, you know, my friends that are Yankee fans aren't that big of fans of running something back when you know something didn't work. You have to do some sort of change, but they're kind of tired of the repetitiveness and also feeling as though that Cashman did overplay his hand with offering that QO. They understood giving it to Bellinger because they figured, well, he's not going to take it. So odds are we can get a pick if he does go elsewhere. But there was always that risk with Grisham. So, I mean, to bring it back again, Mets talk, in comparison, we don't want to run things back. There has to be some sort of change, whether it's in the right place or not, which I think is a huge talking point because some Mets fans think you have to change this, that being, let's say, a Pete, a McNeil type to change up what's going on here. Others feel as though it's the other names that have been mentioned, the Sengas and the baby Mets, if you will, when it comes to the Batys and the Vientoses and the Mauricios of the world, and the Luis Acuñas of the world. So can't run it back. I understand the frustration, and we'll dive into our Mets and what change could be happening coming up.
Well, there are a few things there that have Mets implications before we get to that. Gab saying, friends don't let friends be Yankee fans. Yeah, if you can interfere, I would say that that's fair. But, some of them, they've been Yankee fans since before you met them. Then what do you do? What do you do? Ethan KL saying, if my kid becomes a Yankee fan, out of the will immediately. Ibby, I don't have any kids. I don't plan on having kids. You have kids. Out of the will? Out of the will if they're Yankee fans.
My one daughter loves the Mets. She's always asking if she could watch them. She sleeps with her Mr. Met doll and her Mr. Met blanket. I feel pretty confident there.
She's set. I think you're good.
I think she's set. My other one, my oldest, your middle name is Shay. So you better, because it's part of your name. So you just fall in line in that sense, but we'll see.
Mike Laverty saying simple, then you just don't be friends with them, and Gab saying the same thing. Yes, you're out. But Keith saying he converted Trisha from a Yankee fan. So he was
my
able to
wife.
make it work.
My wife was a Yankee fan. Same thing.
So there you go. That's 2 for 2. That's two for two on wives converting to the Mets side of things. Again, a thing I did not have to worry about. My girlfriend is a Mets fan, born and raised in Flushing. So stone's throw away from Citi Field is where she grew up. So, or I should say Shea Stadium at the time. Carson, if Ibby's daughter is a Yankees fan, she'll inherit his Wi-Fi as punishment.
I'll allow it.
Joe Prano saying, if my kid becomes a Yankees fan, immediately in the debt.
Good to see you, Joe. Good to see you.
That is great. Another good one from Joe that he threw out there earlier. I'm just saving it for a moment because it has to do, I think, with some of the stuff we'll kind of get into in a minute here. Jeff Cohen saying the qualifying offer will be renegotiated in the next CBA because it's going up. Ibby, I do think that there's a chance that the qualifying offer rules change in the CBA. This is not a conversation for today, but something about it I think will change. I think what we're going to see in a world where the players will never agree to a cap, so the owners will never agree to a floor, I think you're going to see adjustments to how the luxury tax is. I think you might see some changes to how teams need to spend money that they get from other teams as a windfall from the collective bargaining agreement, the luxury tax, the TV deal money, stuff like that. And I think you're going to see some finer points like this where markets are affected kind of negotiated out. Again, not a big conversation for today, but I think that's something that we're going to see for sure.
I think that's definitely something that could be on the table. And like you said, I'm trying my best to table talks like that because I know that, we're kicking the can down the road, but eventually we're going to get back to, those lockout shows that we had, which were fantastic, by the way. That was the birth of all of our guests and everything, all the fun that we had there.
It's true.
But which really ended up changing the trajectory of the show itself and how we handled the show, which was great. But I know we're getting to that point soon-ish, and I'm just trying to avoid it for as long as I can.
Yes, I don't want. Again, we did have some great stuff happen with our show, the growth of our show, some fun stuff, some different things. The last time the league was in a lockout, but it was too recently, man. I don't want to do it again. I'm not looking forward to it. If we're 10 years deep doing this show and it happens, you're like, all right, fine. It felt like it was yesterday. And I don't want to see it, but I think this point from Jeff just makes a lot of sense. Lazy Mary, too much talking from John. I'm out. Then followed it up by saying nothing John has to worry about with his girlfriend is imaginary. So I guess not out, still here, still making corny jokes. Cool. Odd villain. Section 8 Wi-Fi is nasty work.
It is nasty work.
Odd villain, welcome back. I don't think Odd villain was here last week. So Odd villain, nice to see that Odd villain.
Or he came in late, maybe. He might have came in late last week. I can't remember.
Maybe, but nice to see that Odd Villain survived his Halloween trip to New Orleans because
yes.
Man, that is a recipe for disaster. Odd Villain saying that shit feels like yesterday, talking about the lockout.
It does.
So yeah, I mean, look, we're going to get there and it's going to be frustrating and it's going to be annoying, but hopefully like we did last time, we can all get through it together. Ibby, I think before we talk about this Passan article that is going to dominate the landscape of the rest of the show, because we've got the Nimmo stuff. There's some Pete stuff in there. There's Bellinger. There's McNeil. There's Senga. All the stuff that a lot of things are filtering in through the comments. We'll get to that. I do want to spend not a ton of time, but a couple of minutes talking about the Mets coaching staff.
Sure.
And, it comes out today. The Mets have officially filled their coaching staff up for 2026. Some of these names we knew, some we didn't know, some were alluded to, some were teased. I think we're not going to talk about assistant pitching coaches and dive deep on some of these folks, but I think I want to start really quickly with the pitching coach, Justin Willard, who was teased, alluded to, thought of, maybe, was he, will he, won't he kind of thing for a while. And then it was official through like a baseball podcast. He was like, what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Could have been us, but it wasn't. Where he was like, what a great opportunity to be the pitching coach for the Mets. But a lot of people are really high on Justin Willard. I wouldn't say I know a ton about the guy's track record beyond what has come out over the last couple weeks since people have been talking about him, but seems like a really good hire. People are pumped. People who know more about him than I do are pumped.
Yeah, I mean, I've the limited reading I've been able to do on Willard and what he was able to do in Boston, and what kind of mind he has and how he goes about handling pitchers. I'm excited to have someone like that in the system and working with our guys, and hopefully being able to allow things to progress, especially as we move towards a younger rotation with the guys that we've seen so far, that being the McLeans and the Sproats and the Tongs of the world, and the guys that can be here in due time, whether it's the Jack Winnegers or the Jonathan Santucci's or the Will Watsons of the world, and of course, whoever is potentially brought in, and of course, obviously working with the vets that are here. If Kodai Senga is still here, can things be tweaked with him? Obviously, the most important thing is keeping him healthy, but also working with Clay Holmes, David Peterson, and guys of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to watch all unfold with a lot of new coaches on this staff. It's a brand new look. And obviously, I'm expecting a lot of change with this team in general, because I think we're going to have some movement when it comes to the 26-man roster.
Armand, thank you, saying Baseball is Boring podcast is where the news broke on Justin Willard. And Cindy saying Mets Up podcast did a great show on him, aforementioned Justin Willard. They spoke very highly about him. Because of that, I am excited. I did not listen to that particular one. They do a good job though, so I'm not surprised about that. And it's good listening. Certainly a deeper dive than we will do. It's not really our style here on this particular show. A couple of other ones that stick out to me, Ibby, first base coach Gilbert Gomez, first base and outfield coach, taking over for Antoine Richardson, gets the call up from the Brooklyn Cyclones. And, this is a team that won a championship. This is another guy that people are excited about. I think you joked about it in the group chat that we're in with Carson and Keith, Aunt Rivera, some of the other Mets content creators out there. Again, these are not coaches that I particularly follow closely as far as my fandom is concerned. But if people are high on these guys, it's good enough for me. If people who know more about these folks are high on them, I'm going to have to take them at their word. And, look, I'm happy that the coaching saga is over. Put it that way.
Again, Mets fans, we should be focused on what's going on the field, the players that we watch in the box, in the field, making throws, making pitches. Like, that's what we should be focused on. Like, the whole 2-week period where people were screaming about Richardson and everything going on with the coaching staff. Again, you're bored. Nothing was going on. The staff is done. You saw all the names. It's nice and pretty. Let's focus on what matters, the players on the field.
Jeff Cohen, 11, count them, 11 coaches. Yeah, that feels like a lot. I don't care. I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to critique it. Like we talked about it when Joe DeMeo was in the comments talking about all the teams that employ 2 hitting coaches. It's like 95% of the teams, 98% of the teams. And then a bunch of teams employ 3 hitting coaches, 1 main coach, 2 assistants, whatever. So I don't care, but it does feel like a lot. And I want to shout out Jeff Cohen for this, because I think Jeff will appreciate this. Ibby, this comment is incredibly grammatically correct with the use of numbers. I know it's really boring for some people, but like, you're supposed to spell out all the numbers till you get to 10, but that rule changes when you start a sentence. So shout out Jeff Cohen. I know Jeff, you're a teacher. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Shout out for that one.
That's a good one. That is good.
How can we focus on the stuff on the field in October? That's what we're going to have to, I think maybe that was a tongue-in-cheek comment about it being November, but the stuff on the field that we're going to get to coming up next. So, look, the last person I did want to mention as far as this coaching staff is concerned is JP Arencibia. And much to Lazy Mary's chagrin, who has left, it has nothing to do with his political affiliation. JP Arencibia is somebody who, again, like Justin Willard, was rumored and alluded to being a part of the Mets major league coaching staff future. He did a great job in AAA as their hitting coach, and it seemed like it would be a logical progression with the Mets getting rid of Glenn Sherlock for him to become the catching instructor working with Alvarez, because he did such great work with Alvarez when he was demoted, but also to be another potential sort of hitting voice. Again, you don't want to muddy the water and mix too many messages in there. But I mean, just to Mike Laverty's point, JP and Alvi are close, I'm pretty sure. So I think it's going to help Alvarez, and we can all talk about the changing of the landscape of the Mets. And a lot of people are like, the only people I care about are Lindor, Soto, and McNeil. Those are the only ones. Anybody else they can go, that's been a rhetoric from a lot of people. You better include Francisco Alvarez in that mix. He's still so young. He was a top prospect, and part of it has to do with the fact that he's a catcher. His positional value is enormous. So if you're one of those people that wants to throw the baby out with the bathwater as far as this roster is concerned, and you don't care who goes besides Lindor, Soto, and McNeil, add Alvarez to the list. So I think anything the Mets can do to have Alvarez be the best version of himself, that includes JP Arencibia being on the staff, is a great move.
Yeah, obviously, I think that some Mets fans, it's always about what have you done for me lately, and what they picture is a hurt catcher and the hands and the multiple surgeries and the lack of power and spots. But now, we've seen some great things said about Arencibia. We've seen some great things said about, or I should say, from Arencibia about Francisco Alvarez and what he views, or how he views him, and what he believes he can be, not only as a hitter, but as a catcher as well. So I'm all about it. I'm great that these guys, these in-house candidates like a JP, are getting an opportunity to work more and more, because it clearly shows that a difference was made when a guy goes from the bigs, drops back down. And of course, sometimes it's just a fresh perspective, small tweak here and there. Why don't you do that? Try this. Okay. Keep it simple. And obviously we saw some great results. So I'm pumped about it. I'm glad that he's in-house. And obviously, when it comes to Alvi, I agree. That's a piece that doesn't come along often for teams. Catcher is always a luxury, especially one that can hit, especially one that can hit for power. Let's just hope that we can keep Alvi healthy moving forward, and we can finally have another 30 home run season from a catcher.
Ethan KL saying he is the coach, meaning JP Arencibia, that told Alvi to stop listening to the bullshit Chavez was telling him to do. He is the coach that did that. That is totally accurate. And hopefully, it paid dividends then, and hopefully it will continue to pay dividends in the future. You guys are watching Til Mets Do Us Part. We're live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter. We're live on Substack. And if you're just joining the show, we're trying something different this week. We have a horizontal and a vertical look on the YouTube channel. I was hoping that it would kind of auto-select based on which device you were watching it on, but apparently that is not the case. So if there's any confusion, Ibby alluded to it before. Apparently there are two separate streams that you can click on. icon when you are on the YouTube channel, one horizontal, one vertical. See a lot of folks with the vertical icon next to their comments or next to their comments and their handles. So it is helpful for us to know who's watching where and whether or not we should continue to do it this way. So we'll go ahead and kind of ride this out this week, next week, and then maybe we'll take a poll at some point. Mike Laverty saying, Ibby, you need a neon sign on that wall. Ibby, I've been saying it. You need something behind you. I don't even my wall is filled with stuff, but the way the camera is framed up, it looks like I have one sad photo, but I have so much behind me. It used to be huge. In my old apartment, it was like you could see a piece of everything. The way I have this set up, the wall looks great, but the wall does not look great for the camera setup that I have.
Yeah, obviously with our new setup here, you can see a little bit more of the wall as there's, the orientation is a little bit larger now. I am working on something to get behind me. I do have something I could put there, but I kind of want to do something a little bit different. And I won't give any spoilers just yet, but I will say this. I opened up a dialogue with JMac Customs last night. I will say that. I opened a dialogue on that, and we're working on something. I have an idea for something that I want to put behind me, and we'll see if it can come to light. So yeah.
JMac Customs obviously does great work. Friend of the show, friend of the QBC. Great dude all around too. So hopefully you guys can get that stuff hammered out. I've talked to him about some stuff too, not necessarily related to the Mets, but yeah. Let me see. Keith saying, I have the next QBC poster for you, Ibby, to match Sap at QBC. There you go. So you can get that. Okay. You can get that popped up there. I'm going to need one. I
do have one right there. I have the one from last year. It's over there. You can't see it.
Let me see if I can angle up. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
See what I'm saying? We got stuff. We got other QBC posters. We got things going on behind me. Anyway, back into the Mets conversation. So Jeff Passan sort of dropped a different kind of Passan bomb on us, right?
Yeah.
He put out something that he normally doesn't do this time of year, Ibby. And listen, Jeff Passan is by reputation, and I think rightfully so, like the preeminent baseball reporter in the country, right? So I don't think this is not a dig at him. I'll bring up Jeff Cohen's comment where he says, Passan's a great reporter, but methinks he's having some fun at Mets fans' expense. Because the article that he put out is very speculative. And again, this time of year, he's more about the truth. He's more about this is what happened. Boom, I'm breaking the news. And so I disagree with Jeff in that I don't think he's having fun at Mets fans' expense. But you and I were talking about this right before we went live. And I basically said a lot of the things he said are sort of common sense. If you just look at Kyle Tucker, for example, and then I'll bounce it over to you.
Yeah.
The Mets don't really have room as it stands right now for Kyle Tucker. But the Mets have the most money. The Mets have an offensive need. So they're going to be, at this stage of the offseason, linked to anybody because Kyle Tucker's going to command the type of contract, I don't know, $300 million, $400 million. I don't care what it is, that only a few teams are going to be able to afford. And the Mets are one of them. And then that begets the next thing, which is like, well, if they like Kyle Tucker, how do they make room for him? Well, they trade Brandon Nimmo. So again, this is not to put down Jeff Passan's reporting. I think he's bright. I think he's smart. I don't think he's the type of guy that pokes fun at fan bases in that way. But I think a lot of it is just like, yeah, man, this is common sense. Brandon Nimmo has been a really great Met, but with 5 years and $100 million left on his contract, if you could get out of that, get younger and get a better player, you would. Any team would. So I think it's just like, yeah, a lot of that makes sense. They're probably not going to do most of it. So I don't know where your thought process fell on it, but that's where I'm at. Like, it's just like,
Yeah, if you haven't already, just make sure on the YouTube side. I did post a poll question because John just mentioned Brandon Nimmo. If possible, would you be okay with trading away Brandon Nimmo? 22 votes so far. Make sure you haven't voted. If you haven't voted already, make sure you do. 91% say yes, 9% say no. And look, I'm going to use that as a jumping off point because the way things were worded are kind of what always bothers me. And again, when you're a writer, like the way you word things is going to put across an entire message. And I see that a lot of Mets fans see what was written because we take the things from Jeff as gospel because, like John's point, he's the number one guy. We always say, turn on your notifications, wait for the Passan bomb. Wait for Passan, trust Passan. If you want to wait for just pure Met stuff, trust Will Salmon. Like those are the guys that we say that you should go to because those are the best in our opinion. But when I see what was written and it says things like, Kodai Senga is being shopped, odds are he's probably going to get dealt. I can understand that one. I can because it's frustrating and the health and things like that. I can get that one to an extent, especially if you want to get some new fresh blood or try to use said money or potentially just changing the top of your rotation, as we've said that this team needs to do. But when we say things like Brandon Nimmo can be had in trade talks, okay, like, sure. Like, it's the same thing I said last week with Will, where it's like, Mets are taking calls on Jeff McNeil. I'm sure that there's white noise on the opposite end when it comes to talking about Jeff McNeil. You say all the names that were mentioned in that article. They're on the cover of this week's thumbnail. Senga, Nimmo, McNeil, who else? Angel Acuna, Vientos, Baty. The only one there that you're talking about from a sell high perspective is Brett Baty. And right. I can understand, depending on the deal, depending on what you're getting, depending on how you're going to pivot and change third base, because you're not trading Brett Baty to play Mark Vientos at third base. You're not doing that. So
no, you're trading Baty and signing Bregman or trading Baty and signing Bichette. That's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing. And again, I question something like that only because of the money that's being spent. That's a lot more money. Someone put in the comments before, Brett Baty's making $750,000. I know money doesn't matter, but at the same time, you still got to be smart in how you're allocating big contracts. And remember, you're going to give out a big contract for years too. Is this the type of piece that you want to surround Juan Soto with moving forward? So when I see these things said from Jeff, I respect the hell out of him. I do. But when you tell me Brandon Nimmo can be had, sure. But again, that contract doesn't matter if he can be had. It's got to be if this player is willing to waive his complete his no trade clause to go somewhere. Otherwise, it's just lip service. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you can't tell me that Brandon Nimmo, even based off of his numbers, will be great for. And I know a lot of people are running with trade ideas, do this, this, and this, cancel money here, this, and this. It still comes back to the player. Does Brandon Nimmo want to go to Minnesota? No, he probably doesn't. Is Brandon Nimmo going to be shipped off to Colorado, which everyone thinks he is because he's a Colorado kid, like out that way? It's like, no, that's not going to happen because he wants to be a part of something where he can win. He wants to be a New York Met. I would bet money that he wants to pride himself on being a lifelong Met, and he can say no to anything, and he's earned that right because he signed that contract, and that's basically what the Mets have to deal with. Can something happen where a deal is struck? Sure. I will never say never on anything, but I'm not going into this offseason thinking that Brandon Nimmo is going to be dealt away, and I'm shocked a lot by the results of the poll so far. 91% saying yes, that they would get rid of him. It's easy to say that, again, when you're giving away, and Mets fans do this a lot, you're giving away a 33-year-old outfielder that's lumbering as a left fielder now, no longer a center fielder, making $105 million over the next 5 years. You're going to eat half that contract. You're paying $50 million, essentially, to send him elsewhere.
Maybe a little less.
Maybe a little bit less.
I think
they're not going to attach prospects to him. I'll tell you that much.
No,
they won't do that.
They will not do that.
Won't
That's
do that.
Insane.
No.
I think, and I think it was Ryan Finkelstein that said this on Locked On Mets. The money that Nimmo makes in AAV is very fair. It's the years that's a problem.
The years. That's the
problem. When you look at him at 33, if he were a free agent right now, he would get the money he has, but he would probably get a 2 or 3 year deal. So it's the 5 years. So if you could pay down something that gets, $30 million off the books and makes him more of like a, 80, 85, $75 million player, somewhere in that range, you could probably get a team to take him. And over the life of that contract, that might be prudent for the Mets, right? Pay $30 million to have him go away to get younger or whatever. But when you're adding that to then paying money to replace him, let's say it's Kyle Tucker, now whatever you're paying Kyle Tucker is plus $30 million that you paid Brandon Nimmo to go away. And it's already going to be a high amount of money. So the likelihood of doing that is so low. And then it becomes even lower when you add in what you just said, and when you add in Keith saying Nimmo's wife also loves being in New York. We know he loves being in New York.
Yeah.
Ethan KL saying there's zero shot he would waive his no trade. There's almost a 0 chance that he would waive his no trade clause. And when you look at the fact that Nimmo has a chance to do something that not a lot of people have done, Ibby. And it's hard not to be a Brandon Nimmo fan. Right. He plays the game hard. He's done everything right. But I'm not like a huge Nimmo guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, if you ever could, I would trade Nimmo. I think it makes sense. You can't, which is why it's kind of moot. But he has the opportunity to do something that not a lot of Mets have done. And that is play his entire career as a New York Met. And he just watched a guy that he used to play with in David Wright have his number retired despite not being a Hall of Famer, and being the only person whose number retired by the Mets is a lifelong Met. You think Brandon Nimmo is not thinking? Brandon Nimmo's not going to go to the Hall of Fame. He knows that. Brandon Nimmo, though, if he finishes out the 5 years of his contract here, is going to go in the Mets Hall of Fame, and number 9 is probably going up at Citi Field.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. That is his legacy. He's not going to make the Hall of Fame. He wants to win a championship here, and he wants to go in the rafters. And I don't blame. There's no rafters. You know what I mean? He wants to go on the wall.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. And so, you know what you have to do to get him to waive that no trade clause? So this thought, it's funny to me, Ethan, Mets cast punching air right now with his trade proposal for Buxton and Joe Ryan with a package that includes Nimmo, etc. You're telling me that after the Twins just traded a bunch of their best players, they're now going to trade their next 2 best players, and you're going to convince Brandon Nimmo at 33 to go there where they're rebuilding instead of staying here playing with Lindor, Soto, and now Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan. He's never going to fucking do it. 0 chance.
No.
0.
And the other part of the conversation and the whole write-up, to just move away from Nimmo for a second, is we could put those names in there all we want, but there has to be a want, like what I just alluded to with Jeff McNeil. It's like, I'm sorry, I really don't think anybody wants Jeff McNeil. And when you're selling low on players, you can't expect to get much back, which is why I'm curious as to what they're actually trying to achieve when it comes to potentially getting away from said players. I'm not saying you don't do it. You shop, guys. It's always healthy to look around and see what's out there and what you could potentially get to change up whatever you have, better yourself in a given area. I'm not saying you don't do that, but at the same time, I'm also saying you can't expect the world, and Mets fans want to run with mock off seasons and mock trades and all this stuff. It's like, I don't think that the Mets phone lines are burning up for Luis Angel Acuna, Jeff McNeil, a down year for Vientos. I would assume no one's calling you about Brandon Nimmo. They're not, because of the contract. And we're talking about Baty most likely as a piece in a deal, not the centerpiece, but a piece of a deal to go somewhere. So what's the rest of said deal? What's the player that you're getting? And then, like we said before, adding on the contract that you're going to get because you don't have an in-house third baseman. So when that happens, you're getting ready to pay $150+ million over the next 5 years or whatever it may be for Alex Bregman, or you're paying 7 years potentially for Bo Bichette. Is that what you want to do? Is that the direction that is that the way you want to allocate allocate your
I
money,
don't.
assuming
Yeah, I
also
don't.
with Baty being dealt away.
We jump back into the comments here. Keith saying also fans don't know how much of a leader Nimmo is in the locker room. I think fans think that, but it's true. Nobody really knows because none of us are in the locker room. He seems like a guy who definitely is a leader in there. Every time the candidacy of captainhood gets brought up for Lindor, Nimmo is the guy, co-captains, or it should be Nimmo. He's been here longer, whatever. So I think some people do get it, but it is a fair point that like no one really knows. To Keith's point, like none of us are in the locker room. None of us are in the clubhouse. We don't know. So you don't know how that would affect it. D saying, I trade Nimmo in a heartbeat. Again, everything being equal, I would trade Nimmo too. I do want to be clear on that. It's not realistic, Ibby. And I think you like Nimmo probably a little bit more than I do. Again, understanding that like he's impossible to dislike, but if you could trade Nimmo, you would. Like if Nimmo had 3 years left instead of 5 at this age and his contract was movable, because I think at 3 years you could probably move that deal to a team that needs an outfielder, I would do it. I wouldn't be married to Nimmo, but you just can't. GSD, nobody wants to go to Minnesota, not even Prince's ghost. I think it's very difficult to play baseball in Minnesota in that open air stadium in April, in October. I know they haven't exactly been perennial October team like they were, a few years ago, but it's hard, man. It is hard to play out there when the weather is not great. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to live in Minnesota. Pretty place, cold place. Dixon asking the hard-hitting questions. Can we trade Nimmo for some shirt buttons for John? Apparently that's a thing. It's like as if I'm naked. I don't understand, guys. It's like the shirt is 3 buttons down, guys. It's good. It's fine. We're all gonna be fine. When we let me see. Are we having issues, Ibby? You said apologies to
Oh no, he was just saying that he was upset about the live ad reads that are flowing during our live, which is something that's new. But it's kind of part of the whole monetization thing. I can look into the frequency of it, like I just said in the comments, but it kind of is what it is.
D saying, I feel like they won't trade Baty, just a hunch. D, we did have Will Salmon on the show last week, and he was speculating again, not insider information, nothing he's reporting, but we asked him a bunch of rapid fire questions at the end of people who are on the Mets or pending free agents, as is Alonso and Diaz, and just like his gut instinct right now up to that moment of who he thought, would they be on the team in 2026, yes or no? And he actually said no to Baty because he does think that you have to give to get. And if you're trying to make the kinds of acquisitions that it seems like the Mets are trying to make via trade right now, that they're going to have to give up somebody who, Ibby, like you said, they're going to have to give up somebody that they're selling high on. One of these guys who has value is going to have to go. So that was his thought process. Again, not reporting anything, nothing was imminent, but I do think it is worth bringing up. Dixon is saying, if the stream gets 100 likes, the Mets will trade Nimmo. Yeah, you know what? Sure. I like that one. Let's go for it. Maybe I do want to bring up, I don't know if people follow me on Twitter. If you do, you can. My handle is beneath my picture here. It's at John Saponaro. But I do want to bring this up as far as something that I said in reaction to the Passan article at large, which is the why of each player, why it makes sense. For Senga, the Mets have a lot of expensive starting pitching that they are locked into with regards to spots. Now, you can never have enough, and I think Senga is this terrific wild card, and he is being paid under market value for somebody who has his upside. But we already talked about it. We talked about it with Will Salmon last week. If the Mets are going to acquire 2 starting pitchers, they probably need to move one. And the most likely are Senga and to a lesser extent, Peterson. So again, I think when you look at him, that's the logic train you need to follow. Agree or disagree?
I would agree with that. I mean, could you just, I was cutting in and out a little bit, but you were basically saying it was between Peterson, Senga, working from there, obviously needing to trade, give to get. I was cutting in and out.
Basically that the Mets have a lot of starting pitchers locked into spots also.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Okay.
Senga's one of those guys. And Will said, if they're going to get 2 pitchers, they need to trade one. So it is a bit of give to get. It's also understanding that if you want to remake the rotation, you probably need to trade somebody.
I think that when it comes to, I agree with the statement, obviously. You have to give something up if you want to create some more space while still having, the depth that you want when it comes to the kids and everything. So yeah, Senga and Peterson are the ones that jump to the top of the list. I wouldn't be shocked at a Peterson trade because of the 1 year left, selling high in that sense. Obviously, he had a rough second half, but I'm sure somebody could bite in that sense. But with Senga, I just think that I feel that David Stearns is just not a Senga fan, because of the health aspect, because of all the accommodations that have to go with him. How, again, this isn't meant to be like a legit shot or anything, but it does feel like he is someone that if he's not 100%, he's not going to do anything for you. Like, and I'm saying, like, look, if a guy's hurt.
Oh, damn. That Wi-Fi was hitting.
Guys go out there. It just feels like Senga's a guy that's just like, if it's not 100%, if it's not working, not going to do it. So I feel like they want to get out from the entire aspect of that. But I also think that you're selling low. So I don't know exactly what you're going to get in return when you trade a Senga, but I understand wanting to shop him.
Yeah, look, it's hard when a guy is making the money that Senga's making, which again, for his upside is under market value, to just be like, yeah, take him. Because you can never have too much starting pitching. But I do agree with you that, like, I think Stearns kind of values guys who give innings. And I think he's looking at Senga, and it's like, to borrow the Bart Scott quote of all time, the best ability is availability. And you're right. If the guy's hurt, the guy's hurt. If he can't play, he can't play. But if he can play and he's kind of like, I'm
not there yet.
Ready
not
yet.
There yet.
It's like, Jesus, dude, come on, man. We need you out there. The next player I'll bring up is Nimmo. We spent a lot of time on Nimmo, but I just want to bring up what I said. He is overpaid in terms of years. He does have a diminishing skill set. He was not signed to play the position that he is playing. He was paid as a center fielder, and he was not signed by David Stearns. It would shake up the roster. It would free up money. I'm not even going to bounce it over to you because we've spoken so much about Nimmo. It's not going to happen, but that is the logic in trying to trade Nimmo. For Baty, and I'm sorry to do this to Gab, who very eloquently said, keep my wife's name, Baty, Brett, out your goddamn mouth, trade discussions. But just to be fair, his best season was last season. It was still up and down. He's 26. He's not reached the pinnacle of what you would expect him to be, as he's now going to be 26, heading to 27. He would be a sell high player, to your point from earlier. And you do have to give to get, like Will Salmon was talking about. Now, I do think here's where this will make Gab happy, I hope. I think Baty is the most difficult player to trade, Ibby, because there is no direct line to replacing him. The Mets don't have a third base prospect that is ready. If you trade McNeil, you could stem the tide with Acuna until Jet Williams is ready. They have a couple of other guys too who project as second baseman. If you move some things around, you can move some things around and you can get Bellinger, or you can sit and wait for Benj. You can trade Vientos, and then you can re-sign Pete and sign Bellinger if you wanted to, and you can bounce around with your DH and your first base situation. You could do a lot of different things. If you trade Baty, you have to go out and spend a ton of money to replace him. And that is the tricky part as Ibby drops out. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he is he just dropped right out. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Odd Villain saying Akamoto. Yes, another good way you could potentially go about this, but it is another player that you have to pay money to, and you take on the risk of, will his skill set translate? I think that's what it sort of that's where you hit this stumbling block with regards to if you move on from Baty, you have to invest serious financial capital in replacing him. Now, I don't care. Steve Cohen is a billionaire 18 times over. He can do it. I would like it. Listen, Armand, I'm on your side. Alex Bregman, if Baty is traded, hell yes, do this 100 times out of 100. But look, I don't know if I agree, Gab, with the fact that I don't know if he's a cornerstone third baseman. I need to see more, but I do believe that if you trade him, you have to invest serious money there. And that changes your outlook for your entire season. Because now, if you go and you get Bregman, does that mean that you're moving on from Pete? Does that mean that you're going to get Bregman and Bellinger? Does that mean, like, it just changes a lot of the math for how you would put your team together. And I do think it's, I don't know. I think it's hard to do, but again, I'm not going to let that be the reason, to Will Salmon's point from last week. I'm not going to let that be the reason why I don't make a deal. If you have to put Baty in a deal for Sandy Alcantara, I'm going to do it. I want the ace. Give me the guy with the ace upside with the controllable deal. I would 100% do that. Yes, Armand, Steve Cohen did just sell a 24 karat gold toilet for $12 million at auction. That is, that's just wild, man. That is absolutely, absolutely insane. But it is true. D saying, I expect the Mets to make a deep play for Cody Bellinger. I also expect the Mets to be more in on Cody Bellinger than you would think. I'm trying to add Ibby to the Oh, Ibby, you're only here via audio.
That's odd. What the hell's going on?
You're fully here. Everyone can hear you, so don't say anything weird.
Oh.
But you're only here via audio.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with your connection, but
I am struggling today.
Let's just move on to the next couple people, and then we can head into the break. We'll try to sort it out.
Yeah.
I do understand the logic to wanting to trade Vientos. He is still regarded for some as a high upside bat, but he is unplayable in the field, which is a negative to trading him, but also a reason as to why you'd want to trade him. And I don't think, you mentioned David Stearns not liking Senga. I don't think David Stearns likes the idea of having a 26-year-old DH. You know what I mean? Like, if he has to DH Pete Alonso, he'll DH Pete Alonso. I don't think he wants to roster a guy in Mark Vientos who's going to be your DH for the next 4 years. Like, I don't know. I think he wants more flexibility than that.
I think the idea of Mark Vientos has really, I think last year was his chance to do something, improve to David Stearns, because I never felt like he was a Stearns type of player.
He's not.
Because of the year that he had and everything he was coming off of, I thought he probably felt like I have to give a chance. It's the right thing to give a chance. And it just didn't work. And then the defense obviously continued to go downhill. It was brutal to watch out there. And then, of course, we said it during the offseason. It's like your glove is kind of masked because of the way that you hit. If you're going to hit that way, we'll figure it out. But it didn't work, and everything just kind of came apart. And you would be selling low in this sense. But I also think that there are teams out there that look at his bat and think, I can make this work. I can make this a D. I don't mind if this is DH for me. I don't mind trying to work out first base or even putting him at third base. Like, there's always a team that's willing to try something and think that they can unlock it. It's an ego-driven sport. Everything in sports is ego-driven. So it would not shock me if Mark Vientos is wearing a new jersey for the 26th season.
I do agree with that. People are saying that it's like having a disembodied voice of you, Ibby. It's the ghost of Ibby. And Keith Blacknick, the media goon, saying Senga has the ghost fork. Till Mets Do Us Part has the ghost EVP. Yeah, we are. We're trying to get Ibby. When you first joined back in, before you tried to get into the like into the room to be a part of like when you were just backstage, it said Ibby has joined via audio. So I don't know if that's a thing.
What the hell?
We'll sort it out in a sec. Let me just get through these last two guys. Luis Angel Acuna, I think, is the least likely of all these people to be traded, simply because I don't think his value really means anything to anybody else but the Mets. He's a useful bench piece. He has speed. He has defense. He can play a lot of different positions. He can probably play even more positions if they commit to him being a bench guy. And you can have him be a guy on your bench that plays shortstop, second base, center field, maybe some third base, maybe some corner outfield spots, gives you a ton of flexibility, and he's making the league minimum. Plus, Ibby, if you're talking about trading him, he's out of options. There you are.
Hello.
You're back.
I'm back.
He's out of options. So I think Luis Angel Acuna is going to be the guy who is least likely of all of these people to be traded, because I just think he has value to the Mets as a bench piece. Nobody else is trading for this guy, taking him on and realizing that he's out of options. I don't think they're going that route.
Yeah, and let's talk about Acuna. I also think that I don't think anybody wants him.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that nobody wants him. I think he's just a guy. He's a jag. He's just a guy. Yes, he could be a utility guy. You can move around the infield, bench piece, what have you. But again, like no one's burning up the phone line to have him. No one's burning up the phone line to say you got to include Angel Acuna. He's got to be in the deal. Like, I don't think anyone's doing that. So that's why I think he's most likely going to be returning. And it's going to be interesting to see unfold, because I think a lot of the players that we have in this system can be similar, if not better, than what he provides. So how they're going to go about managing that is going to be interesting to watch. And I'm talking about the likes of, whether it's Jet Williams, whether it's AJ Ewing, any player along those lines. It's kind of similar, if not better. So we'll see what the future holds ultimately for Angel Acuna.
Yeah, we'll head into the break here. I'm going to save Jeff McNeil because I think there's a larger conversation we can have as it has to do with roster construction, Ibby, as far as Jeff McNeil is concerned. I do want to jump into the comments very quickly and get to some of these ones that we teased from earlier. Joe Prano said, I don't care about Steve Cohen wasting money. That said, let's eat some of Jeff McNeil's contract and trade him, then overpay Alonso. There's a ton of logic behind that. Stanley Babbage asked before, will the Mets trade Nimmo? I think we covered that. I don't think they can. I don't think they will. Meanwhile, in Syracuse, Baty was fine at third base and at second and hit left-handed pitching. Senga was almost a Cy Young, then got hurt and still had a 3 ERA. I don't see why people are so down on these two. Senga only makes $15 million, Baty $750K. I hope we answered that. We're not down on them. We're just trying to explain both sides of the logic of needing to give to get and understanding how replacing them might be terrible to do in the case of Baty, where you're like, okay, now I'm spending $150 million on a position that I was spending $750K. So, I think you have to look at it though, if we're doing our job here, from all sides, why there would be logic to trading them, what would be the downside, what would be the upside. People are down on them, but Ibby and I are not the folks who are down on them where it's like, wow, these guys need to go. So that said, let's head into the break. When we come out of the break, we have plenty more to do. A lot of comments teed up, a lot of comments coming in. 240 people watching us right now across all platforms.
Like the video.
John Saponaro. Yes, like the video if you're on YouTube especially. John Saponaro, Matt Ibanez, Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Substack. We will be right back. Yo, just like that, we are back with Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Substack, like we are each and every week. Said it a bunch already. Going to continue to say it probably for the next few weeks as people get used to it. For the first time ever, though, we have a split broadcast on YouTube, one that is formatted for mobile, which is vertical, one that is formatted for everything else, your laptop, your desktop computer, YouTube TV, whatever it might be, and that is horizontal. We found out once we went live, there are 2 streams on the YouTube channel. You've got to click on the right one. So if you want to watch it vertical, click on the vertical one. If you want to watch it horizontal, click on the horizontal one. At the top of the show, we were alerted that it doesn't auto select, and it should. And maybe StreamYard will figure that out. But I do think the early returns have been fairly positive with regards to, whether or not people like this. So we'll keep doing it for now. We'll take a poll, in a couple of weeks. We'll get things sorted. But Ibby, before we get back into the conversation, it has been a jam-packed show. A lot of news has dropped, talked about the Mets coaching staff announcement for 2026 in the first half, talked about the qualifying offer, Frankie Montas being released, talked about the Jeff Passan report, which will continue here in the second half. But before we do that, let's hit him with a quick word from our friends at Independent Safes.
Absolutely, John. IndependentSafes.com. Independent Safes are protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes. Fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit IndependentSafes.com today for security that stands strong. And I guess it's that time of the show where I need to put somebody in the safe, throw away that key. So I'm trying to think. I'm not going to, obviously I have my feelings on the article written by Jeff. I'm not putting Jeff in there. I'll never put Jeff in there. I'm probably going to go back to, I'll word it this way. I'm going to put in any mock trade that involves Brandon Nimmo. Any mock trade that involves Brandon Nimmo that I've seen to this point has been awful, has been terrible, doesn't make sense. And again, ignores the most important part of the entire discussion. This man has a no trade clause. So that in itself should make you pause before you even hit send to post whatever mock that you want to post. That is the number one thing. This man has a no trade clause. So 90% of the time, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, it's going to be no. If you're going to make a deal, it better be to a legit contender in a place where you could possibly see this guy want to live. But everything that John mentioned before, when it comes to legacy, when it comes to legacy Met, when it comes to career as a Met, when it comes to number up top next to all those numbers at City, we think that weighs heavy for someone like Nimmo. So again, I'm throwing the Nimmo mock trades into the safe. I'm throwing away the key. I'm taking the safe and I am chucking it into the ocean.
Mr. Nobody, if Passan tweets Nimmo 2 right now. Hilarious. Great comment from Mr. Nobody right there. Other people, Aunt Rivera, Subway to Shea checking in saying, Brandon Nimmo for Scooble. Am I in the safe yet?
Aunt, you're in the safe.
That'll get you thrown in the safe though. That'll get you thrown in the safe. Odd Villain taking the other approach, Brandon Nimmo for a chopped cheese straight up. And I'll add a Grabba and a Lucy. Going the other direction as far as Brandon Nimmo's value is concerned. Game for War. I 2 times said throw Substack in the safe.
What's Substack do to you?
Listen, I don't have any. We're on Substack because it makes sense to be on Substack. They don't pay us any money, so I have no allegiance to them. But I'm curious to know why you would want to do that. So let us know. Carlos Ortiz saying put the kiddos that become Yankee fans in the safe.
Fair enough.
Kids in safes. I'm just going to say that I don't advocate that. Neither I nor Ibby, and the comments and questions do not reflect the opinions of the hosts or Til Mets Do Us part. This is a good one from Keith Blacknick, the media goon. I want to put Baty in the safe just for safety reasons until December 13th. Of course,
fair enough.
Queens Baseball Convention, December 13th. Keith had said earlier, you could trade Baty if you want December 15th. Just to be safe. He wants an extra day.
I mean, what last year we had, a bunch of conversations about Juan Soto, and Juan Soto became a Met
He did become a Met the next day.
So there, or the day prior to the QBC, whether it was Jacob deGrom being dealt, walking away, or I should say signing with signing with Texas the day prior, and Juan Soto signing with the Mets the day after. So we'll see what this year brings for the QBC.
My boy, Mike Laverty, I appreciate you saying Lazy Mary to the safe, that dildo. Look, I just want to we'll get right back into the conversation here in a second. I like to have fun with the commenters. I will dish it out. I'll take it. I bring up comments that are negative to me all the time. And I bring that up because Mike Laverty likes to talk smack. He likes to come at me. It's fun. It's a fun back and forth. Do you think that there's a point when it's like you're in here just trolling like Lazy Mary was, and even Mike called him out for it, and it's like, dude, stop. Just don't. Come on. Stop that. Stop that. So shout out. I like it. Gab saying Baty in the safe for safe.
Protect him.
Baty. Protect him.
Protect him at all costs.
Him at all costs, apparently. Aunt Rivera saying shout out to D and all in the chat. Hit the like and subscribe for my bros on TMDUP. Thank you, Aunt. Appreciate that. While you're at it, go and subscribe to Subway to Shea. If you don't already, you should. I know there's a lot of overlap between people who listen to both of our shows, and that's the way we like it. Ibby, I'm going to bring up something that might be controversial.
You? Controversy? No way.
Controversy. Hey, sex sells, baby. That's why I got the buttons out. Okay, listen. Yeah, to quote to quote Rick and Morty, sex sells what? Keith saying chopped cheese is overrated.
I think he's trying to square up with Odd right now.
Here's the thing.
I
agree. Oh
boy.
I think chopped cheese is overrated. Now I don't know. Like, you're a Jersey guy. I know this is more of like a Taylor ham. It's like a poor situation. Yeah. So I don't know if you have an opinion on chopped cheese.
I really don't.
Chopped cheese is okay. I'm not gonna I won't throw you in the mix then. That's fine.
Yeah.
Keith and see, this is my take. This is my take, Mike Laverty. This is why we're sharing a brain. Bacon, egg, and cheese is better than chopped cheese. I want a bacon, egg, and cheese all the time.
Yeah.
100%. That's where my brain goes.
It's the one thing John wants when he actually comes to the better coast for the QBC. He wants to get a sandwich, like an actual sandwich, and not eat the nonsense that he's eating over there in California. It's understandable. He wants a good bagel. He wants some good food. I understand. I get it.
Okay, no, hold on. We talked about this on the show before, right? There is good pizza here in Los Angeles. It is legitimate East Coast. No, there is. The thing about pizza in New York is that it's so widely available. You can get a good slice, a great slice in so many places. Here, you have to pick and choose. You have to find your spots. If you live across town from one, it's a pain in the ass. Fine. But you can get pizza. You can even get good bagels now. You couldn't for a while. Last 3 or 4 years, you can get a lot of good bagels. There is no replicating a bacon, egg, and cheese. And I will say, there's no replicating a chopped cheese. Places have tried. It's not as good, but I don't crave a chopped cheese. When I come home, I'm not like, yo, I need it. I want a bacon, egg, and cheese. Hands down. Odd Villain saying pizza in LA is horrendous. Damn.
One thing I will say,
Odd, when you come out here next time, I got some spots that are good. That's true.
One thing I will say, I finally experienced pizza outside of the tri-state. When I was on vacation. Here's the thing. Like, I was on vacation when I wasn't here 2 episodes ago, with family. We were out in Smoky Mountains. So I was in Tennessee, took the drive.
Oh God.
And it was a great time. They got pizza our first night because we're getting in. I have it, and I'm telling you right now, it was the worst piece of pizza that I've ever had, and that was my first time experiencing something outside of, like I said, of the tri-state. So all I know is great pizza, and I had that slice, and I was like, "This is freaking terrible,
bro,
terrible."
No,
I'm sorry,
dude.
I'm sorry.
Yo, you hurt my fucking soul, because everybody here that's Gab, I fucking love you, man. God damn it. Saying there is good pizza in LA is as true as calling L a Democrat. Okay.
No, let's
Funny.
that's not coming here. No,
it's just a funny comparison. That's all I'm saying. It's a funny comparison. Listen, I do agree, Mets, XVX, Beast Coast. I get it. I live in LA by choice, but I'm a born and raised New Yorker. I lived in Brooklyn for like 34 years. So, I get it. I'm just saying there is good pizza now in LA. That's all I'm going to say. And I know for a fact that there is no good pizza in the Smoky Mountains.
It was bad.
That is not pizza, dude.
No,
it
is not. It was terrible.
That is not pizza. That is horrible. Like you can, and here's my hot take as somebody who grew up in New York eating pizza my whole life.
Till pizza do us part. Continue.
This is what we're doing. We're doing pizza now. It's 2 hours of pizza talk. 2 additional hours. No. We'll get back into the Mets in a second. It's fun to have these digressions. It's the offseason. You want to talk about Brandon Nimmo for an hour and 20 minutes? I don't. Look, there is some pizza. Like I've had good pizza in big cities because you get people who move from places that do pizza and make it here. So like they're not paying me any money, but I'll shout them out. Pizza Wagon of Brooklyn is in LA. It is owned by the same person who owned Pizza Wagon in Bay Ridge. It's the same recipe. It's the same ingredients. He filters the water the way that New York water is filtered. It's the same. It's delicious. It's wonderful. So like there is a way to get good pizza. My buddy Chris, who's an East Coaster, he's not a New York guy. He's a New Haven guy. He has a New Haven pizza place here in LA. So it's the thin crust Connecticut style pizza. It's off the charts. It's delicious. You can get it. I had great pizza in Abu Dhabi, but the dude moved from Tuscany, Italy to Abu Dhabi. You can't get good pizza in a place called the Smoky Mountains. Impossible.
Fantastic views. It was wonderful. I think it was odd in the comments saying that it sounds like Chuck E. Cheese pizza. And to be honest, I actually think that the Chuck E. Cheese pizza that I've had in my lifetime was 10 times better than the pizza that I had in Tennessee up in the Smoky Mountains.
It had to be. It had to be. Keith saying Smoky Mountain pizza, you might as well have DiGiorno. I agree. You should.
I agree. I should have.
DiGiorno, man.
I should have.
Yeah. Odd villain. Redneck pizza is crazy. Open up a fucking restaurant called Redneck Pizza. That shit is hilarious. All of this started because I agreed with Keith and said that chopped cheese was overrated. I crave a bacon, egg, and cheese when I come back. That's what it is. Anyway, back into the did I put somebody in the safe? I don't even remember.
I don't think you did.
Wait, let me do this to close up the segment. I don't know. Technically, that was all part of Throw Away the Key by Independent Safes. I don't think that Independent Safe co-signed on all this pizza conversation. But anyway, look, there's a lot of different places we can go as we continue the conversation here with the Mets, with the Passan article. I think the next place I kind of want to bridge this gap, Ibby, is Josh says Grisham trolled the Yankees so hard. Jeff Cohen saying Bellinger makes a lot of sense. I said this before. I think the Mets, or the Yankees rather, despite Grisham opting in to the qualifying offer, accepting the qualifying offer, I think if they really want Bellinger, they can find. I do think the Yankees can find at bats for Bellinger. I think he matters to them. I think they can. But I do think the Mets' pursuit of Bellinger is real. I think that the Mets' pursuit of Bellinger is real whether or not they retain Pete Alonso. And I do think that Grisham accepting the qualifying offer for probably, let's be honest, about $3 million less than what Bellinger would get paid. Right? It's like 22. Bellinger's probably like a $25 million player a year.
Yeah.
I do think it makes it a little harder for the Yankees to clear a path for Bellinger. And I do think that opens the door for the Mets. I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you disagree. I think the Mets should sign Bellinger and Alonso. I think that's the path to success for a really good lineup. I don't know if they will, but I think this Grisham thing makes it a drop easier.
I don't think they're going to sign both. I don't. I think it's one or the other. And I've said before that if you're making me choose between the two, I'd rather just keep Pete. I understand the talking point of flexibility with Bellinger. I understand it, but I guess I'm just not that big of a Bellinger guy. The numbers away from Yankee Stadium, the fact that his stints in the place that he has been have always ended with teams wanting to get rid of him, and now he's cashing in at 30. I'm just not sure if it's the right fit. I understand the thought process and where people are coming from, but maybe it's just me. And if he ends up coming here and being a guy for this team, I'll root for him. I want him to succeed because he's on my team. But I don't know. There's just something that's off for me in that sense. I can't really put my thumb on it. Like maybe it's just what we talked about on Mets Weekly, where I said that this guy was, you couldn't give this guy away. Nobody wanted to give him a dime, and now a year and a half later, he's going to get $180 million over 6 or 7 years. Like I can't see it. Like I don't see the path there, and I don't know if that's the right piece to build around. And that's me. Things can change in that sense. But it's not one that I'm on board with. And if others are, that's fine. I'm not going to fight John. It's nothing like that. I can be convinced if he is here, and then of course I'll want him to succeed, like I said. But it's not a move for me. I'd rather go another direction. What direction that is, again, this is an interesting offseason, as Will pointed out last week, because it can go a multitude of ways through signings and trades, and we really don't know what direction this team is going to choose, which is why a lot of us are on edge.
Yeah, look, I'll make this comparison. If the Mets re-sign Pete and sign Bellinger, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I like it less if Bellinger is Pete's quote unquote replacement. And the comparison that I'll make is another rumor that Passan threw out that we didn't even talk about. If the Mets signed Devin Williams and Edwin Diaz, I love that.
Different story. Yes.
If the Mets signed Devin Williams to replace Edwin Diaz, I do think that gets you closer, despite what his year was last year and despite Pete Alonso hitting that home run off of him in the playoffs. That is a closer replacement than Bellinger for Alonso, but I still don't love it. I would rather have both guys than just have the new guy, I guess is the way that I would phrase that.
Yeah, I mean, I would much rather have both of them. Like I know the shorts and the TikToks that I put out this week from last week with our conversation with Will. It was focusing on how we think Devin Williams is a fine ball player. We spoke on how the beginning of the year for him with the Yankees is what everyone remembers, but he did turn in a solid year. It's just that's what sticks out. And for Mets fans, the home run from Alonso in the playoff game sticks out. But he's a damn good pitcher. He is, and he's a Stearns guy too. Do I want him as my closer in replacement of Edwin Diaz? Absolutely not. I do not. If you have an opportunity to sign the best, you sign the best, and you bring Edwin Diaz back.
100%.
And then you build your bullpen. That's how you go about this. If you want both, I'm 100% on board. You're going to spend that much money on the pen. It seems anti-Stearns, but if he wants to just say, I need a better pen, I'm going to do it. I got the money. Go ahead and do it. We're talking about a guy who did have at one point Hader and Williams on the back end and the success that it brought them. Yes, they didn't win anything, but still you saw the success of having a bullpen like that and what it can bring. Having that here is needed. So if they want to bring in both, all about it. You can't have one though. You can't just tell me it's going to be Devin Williams. That is setting him up for failure. And year one was tough for new Mets, even though he's coming from New York. It's still going to be a rough go for him because you're replacing the best closer in the sport. So again, not ideal. Both, let's go. Just one as the replacement, can't do it.
Remember, if you sign both, the back end of your bullpen is Diaz, Williams, Minter, and Raley. That's very good.
And you should bring back Rogers.
You should. And if you ever did, and you know what? I mean, we can talk more about this as the offseason rolls along. The Mets should do that. The Mets have like 9 relief pitchers having Tommy John surgery. Daniel Nunez, not going to pitch. Max Krennic, not going to pitch. Reed Garrett, not going to pitch. They should just go out and sign guys and then leave the last couple spots open and, mix in your, what's his name? Dylan Ross is the guy I'm thinking of, right? The prospect that got called up that never pitched. Then you get those guys in the mix and you take chances on a couple spots. The Mets should sign. They already have Minter. He'll probably be ready, hopefully by May. Rayleigh has got an option. He's here. Sign Williams, sign Diaz, sign Trevor Rogers. Go to war, dude. Sign the best and put them in the best position to succeed. 100%. Odd Villain taking another tack saying Ketel Marte and Pete. Earlier said Ketel to Queens. Ibby, I am interested in Ketel Marte.
I love Ketel Marte.
That if you trade for Ketel Marte, you probably have to give up Jet Williams in that deal. So it becomes moot in that you get your second baseman, you're giving up your second baseman of the future. You're no longer blocking somebody. Ketel Marte and Pete is something that people have floated out. That is very good. Very, very good. And I would even say this. If you traded for Ketel Marte and then signed Bellinger instead of Pete, I would like that move. Like, to me, I still would rather have Pete than Bellinger in a vacuum as a 1-for-1. But I could get behind Bellinger being Pete's replacement if you add a bat like Marte. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to get a right-handed power bat to go along with Soto, who's left-handed, Bellinger, who's left-handed, Nimmo, who's left-handed, and Lindor, who's better from the left side. You'd have to get a righty in there. So you need to get a Ketel Marte in the mix. But I do like the concept of getting Ketel Marte here. It's harder to project trades than it is to project free agent signings. But, I would still – look, Mike, I get it. You like him 5 years ago. I'd still take him now, though. His deal is friendly enough that I would take him.
32, right? He's 32 years old. And look, you're going to have the questions because of the clubhouse stuff and how that would work here, or what was true, what was not when the stuff that came out. And I know Perdomo was the one that defended him, but it still came out, which tells you that something was going on there with him not being with the club and stepping away and then not coming back. So, there are question marks there. Do you want that type of person to be a part of this team? Again, I would expect them to vet an entire thing like that and figure out if it was anything or not. I think he's a good ball player. I would love to have him on this team, and it could make sense in terms of changing it up. And look, I think it's tantalizing. And I know that I know Ryan Finkelstein talked about it when the news broke that they might be shopping him, which was a couple weeks ago. And he was saying, look, if you had a lineup that consisted of, a heart of, Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, and Ketel Marte, it's that's good. But again, it's also,
and then if you ever did re-sign Pete or sign Bellinger, like if you had a 1 through 4 that included those guys, that's off the charts.
Yeah, I mean again, it changes what you were. It can better. I don't. If anyone can let me know, I don't know the metrics offhand for Marte as a second baseman. I don't know if it's pretty or not, because that would go hand in hand with understanding what could go on at first base. If it would be more so about Pete or if it'd be more so about Bellinger because of the lack of strong defense on the right side this year when we're talking about McNeil and Alonso. If Marte is a butcher, I'm not sure if he is, but if Marte's not that great with a glove, then you're going to push more for a Bellinger because you want better defense on that side.
Marte historically is an above average second baseman. Last year had a down year as far as defensive metrics are concerned, but like you said, he was dealing with a lot. It was a rough year for him in a couple of different ways off the field. I don't know if that was a factor. He could just be getting to the point, you said he's 32, where his range is going down. But even though he had a down year compared to him, you could see a situation where he would maybe bounce back. I don't think his tools fell off a cliff. Also, let's be honest, it's the major leagues. It's all hard to do, but second base is not, you don't need to be an elite defender at second base. Like, you don't need to be an elite athlete at second base to be an elite defender. You can kind of get by. So yeah, I think it would be, listen, either way, you would be great if you could add a guy like Ketel Marte. It's just, it's it's hard to forecast it. Again, like it's hard to talk about it from a trade perspective for guys who aren't on your team, because are guys really available or not? Where there's smoke, there's fire. We're going to get into a couple of other trade questions that people have asked coming up in a second. Ibby, I did tease one thing that I want to get back to, and that is the availability of Jeff McNeil. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because essentially Jeff McNeil has 1 year, about $18 million left on his contract, which is so high for him because he's got a $15.7 million salary and a $2 million buyout for his contract for the following year. That gets it to 17.7, which is basically $18 million. The Mets would have to pay that down, I would say, to a minimum of like $12 million to trade him. If they get it down to 10, I think a lot of people would be interested. If they got it down to $10 million, I think you can move him in the right deal. But the reason why I bring this back up, I think he's a must trade for the Mets. I think because it's a 1 year deal, I think if you need to eat money, you need to do it just to get him off the team and change the vibes a little bit. But Ibby, does Gleyber Torres accepting the qualifying offer as the best second baseman on the market make Jeff McNeil at, let's say, $10 or $12 million a little bit more attractive to some teams? Because the only other options to play second base are 7-8 years to Bo Bichette and move positions, or Polanco, who's not a good defender coming off a career year, or a guy like Willie Castro, who's basically a utility player. So if you have Jeff McNeil out there, you know, even Ketel Marte, we mentioned, like, you got to take on his money. So I think teams would be interested in Jeff McNeil at $10 million, $12 million.
When you word it like that, yeah, I think that opens me up a little bit more into thinking that maybe people are calling in that sense because it's a cheaper option. I don't know. I guess I look at him as a ball player. I'm just like, he's okay. He's, again, we've talked about this ad nauseum to this point, what he needs to do in order to be a legit, a piece that's counted on. If he's not hitting over 300, what exactly is he? There's not much power. It's kind of a dying breed in terms of what works in baseball now. I mean, Luis Ariz is the other one where it's like, yeah, you hit all these singles, great, but nobody really wants you, and it's tough for them to get rid of you, and who knows where he's going to end up going to. But
you got to be you got to be a plus other thing. If you're a singles guy, you have to have plus speed. Ariz doesn't have it. McNeil doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be a guy like, I know this is like ancient history to some folks, but like, you could hit singles if you're prime Luis Castillo. You're going to steal, 30, 40, 50 bags every year. Juan Pierre, you're going to steal lead the league in steals how many years in a row? Like, sure, you get on first, you could be on second, almost guaranteed. Yeah. But if you're Luis Ariz, if you're Jeff McNeil, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that I think the way you worded it is interesting. I think that makes it a possibility, maybe. You know what it is? Like, as stupid as this sounds, like, it bothers me that every picture that is posted of Jeff McNeil when it comes to these trade talks or potential trade talks, it's just him looking disheveled with a graying beard and his hair's all messed up. I'm just like, and I look at it, I go, who the hell wants to trade for this guy? Like, he looks washed when it comes to the pictures that are always put out there. I know it doesn't mean anything, but that's just me as a fan looking at stuff like, and then me saying like, you want to trade this guy? Yeah, of course you do. Like, you look at him and you go, I don't want this freaking guy on my team. Like, we're tired of him from a standpoint of, look, it's time. Like, it's time for you to go. Like, it's been great. Maybe it hasn't been. You've had your moments. You probably should have been gone after the whole fight, but it's time to go. But like, when I see those pictures, I'm like, you think that posting that picture is what's really going to put it over the top? Him looking like he's 1,000 years old? Come on now. Come on now.
Mike Laverty, Polanco DH a bunch too, didn't he? Yes, he did, and he's not a good fielder. If he was playing, oh
my God,
are you laughing at like a human cigarette?
Oh my God, that is perfect.
Keith, McNeil is such a miserable person. I love that. I did have
Oh my
this one from
God.
thank you, Carson. Marte at second base in
yeah.
2025, +1 defensive run save, +1 out above average. Career +29 defensive run save, +7 outs above average. So
Okay.
yeah, down year for him, still pretty good as far as grades are concerned. I didn't watch him every day, so I don't know about the eye test, but yeah, and historically just a very, very good fielder. Ibby, let's attack this series of questions next.
Okay.
Mark Beretta, ages ago. Who do you think would be the best possible center fielder we can get? Stanley Babbage said, is Benj ready to play center field? Ibby from Armand, choose one, sign Bellinger or trade for Byron Buxton.
Oh.
So this all has to do with center field. And I think the first question from Mark kind of sums up the entirety of it, which is heading into 2026. Who do you think, or let me rephrase it. Let me take all of those and phrase it into one question. To start the 2026 season, what do you think the best course of action for the Mets is in center field? And you might be frozen. So if you're answering, I wouldn't know. While we wait for Ibby to come back, I will pose the question to the chat. Ethan already saying Benj. I think Benj is a great idea. I just don't know that he'll be ready at the beginning. I think he should have an opportunity to win the job. Ibby, it looks like you're back. Did you hear the
I'm
question?
back. I did not hear the question. I apologize.
So I rephrased all of those comments into one question for you, which is, for the start of the 2026 season, what do you think the best course of action is for the Mets in center field? That includes Benj being ready, Tyrone Taylor as the stopgap, Bellinger, Buxton, the whole list.
I think, obviously, I know we bring up Bellinger a lot, but I don't think he would legit be brought in for center. I think he's more of a spell the corners and first option. That's just what I think when it comes to him. But
I do think there's a chance, though. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
If the Mets were ever to bring in Bellinger, if, like Nick DeLuca saying, if Benj isn't ready, we can live with Tyrone Taylor. That's true. You could, and wait for Benj to be ready. And Benj might be ready to start the season. He might force your hand either way. But if you were going to go outside the organization, I don't think Bellinger would be relied on to be your center fielder full stop. But I think you could do worse than having him play center field for a month and a half until Benj is ready. That's my point. Like his versatility is what's attractive.
In terms of all the things that were said, the options and everything, for me, I say I would better myself in all the other areas, better your offense in other areas, get stronger in other areas while allowing center field to be stopgap and then Benj. Because I would rather play Benj and go through those ups and downs of a prospect by the second month of the season, let's say, or late first month of the season. I would rather do that as opposed to, doling out capital for Buxton, who I still question if he even really wants to leave. The health, that's always an issue for him. And of course, we know when it comes to the Mets and health, it's never a positive in that sense. We always get the shit end of the stick in terms of that. So I'm not big on that. So I for center field, I would rather just run with Benj. That's me, because I don't really like a lot of the options that are available. And I don't want to pay up either for a stopgap if Benj is the ultimate plan.
I mean, I see your point on that. This is my issue.
Okay.
I can't do this. I can't keep
Tyrone
Taylor in center
tough.
field until Benj is ready.
Tough.
Carlos, I understand. And I agree with a lot of the commenters. Like, Nick DeLuca, I brought up his comment. Like he said before, Benj is a stud. People want Benj is odd villain. Benj is the best center field option on the roster. Like, I agree how good Benj could be. But I think the tricky part you run into is that this guy has had a handful of at-bats in AAA. What happens? We think he's ready and super close to ready, and I'm stoked that Stearns is like, he'll have a chance to win the job. Great. But what if he doesn't? What if he's not ready? What if he needs a year at AAA? What if he regresses? And then the until Benj is ready part of this comment, then you have to go get a center fielder at the deadline. And you might have to go get somebody that you don't really want to get. Like Nick is like, no Luis Robert, please God. Like, okay, but if Benj isn't ready and Tyrone Taylor is playing center field in July, Luis Robert might be the only option. Now you can get Bellinger. You can get maybe Buxton. You can do some different things that will protect you better. That's what I'm afraid of. That's the thing I'm afraid of. If he balls out, Benj, give him the job. Great. Fine. But if he doesn't, and also Mike Laverty saying some people think he's better served as a corner outfielder too.
Look, I was going to bring that point up too, Mike. Thank you for bringing it up. It's like, I would not be shocked also if there was a thought process within this front office that says if I know people don't want to hear Luis Robert, and I'm still iffy on him as well, and the Buxtons of the world and so on and so forth. But there could be a thought process where they say, we want Benj to come up, but we want Benj to play left. We want Nimmo to move to DH. We want to get a center fielder with better range because we think that Benj is better served as a corner. That exists too. But I'm to the point now when it comes to center field across baseball, if you have a legit center fielder, it's kind of like a unicorn at this point because they don't grow on trees like they used to. And I just think that if you have someone in the system that could be groomed as a center fielder, then that's your best option as opposed to just going out there and paying for a potential stopgap that might or might not work, or you're going to overspend on someone that's just not that good because there's not a lot when it comes to the position as it is. So is there a world where this can happen where Benj goes to left and you sign someone or trade for someone? Sure. Is there a world where at some point you have Benj in left and AJ Ewing in center field? Sure. Who knows? Like anything can happen in that sense, but for me, for my money, for my thought process of how to build this team right now, I would say I would much rather roll the dice and I would put it on Benj to be in center while bettering myself around the diamond so I can handle the ups and downs of what a rookie would bring.
I don't know. I don't think I can do it.
That's fine.
I don't think
That's fine.
Because here's the thing. Here's my issue. If you're doing that with Benj, like kind of going all in, you're not getting anybody to potentially stem the tide. So there's no Luis Robert, there's no Buxton, there's no Bellinger. I've seen people mentioning Harrison Bader even. There's no nothing else. Now you have a team that has, right now, I know trades can happen and then maybe that changes the whole tenor of things. But right now, Francisco Alvarez and his ups and downs, I believe in Alvarez, but his ups and downs are real. He's your catcher. Right now, who's your first baseman? Is it Mark Vientos? Right now, you have to pencil him in there.
Sure.
Right now, who's your second baseman? It's Jeff McNeil. Right now, who's your third baseman? It's Brett Baty. And I know they're going to make some changes to these things. I understand that. The season doesn't start today. But the idea of Benj or Tyrone Taylor being your center fielder with the other numbers that the other players that I just named, I can't do it. I can't not have any kind of a safety net. And this is why, like, Odd Villain brings it up, and I hate to keep going back to this, but it is also why I like the idea of Cody Bellinger on the roster. He's versatile enough to play center field and first base or a corner in the event that Benj is ready. To me, even if you signed Bellinger and Alonso and Benj was ready, that's how you have the best roster possible. Alonso plays some first base, some DH. Bellinger plays some first base, some left field, some right field, probably some center field. Then you have Benj, you have Nimmo, you have Soto. You can rotate the DH spot around. You can get Bellinger in at first base too. To me, it makes too much sense. And I know people are afraid of the kind of hitter that he is and to commit long-term. I get it. But one player protects you at first base, center field, left field, and right field. One. And then you can play all the kids you want. And the best case scenario is you sign Pete, you sign Bellinger, and Benj is good enough to play center field. That's amazing. And if he's not, you have a stopgap. And you're not hamstrung to watching Tyrone Taylor bat 189 for 4 months. You know, I know it's a joke and it's funny and it's the belly bell and I've been in on Bellinger and I know he's got his warts. But to me, he's one guy that protects you in 4 positions. 5 if you really want to count DH. And I don't think that that's crazy. I really don't. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I question. I don't see a world where, and what you just said, there's nothing wrong with what you just said. It makes sense when it comes to spelling people at certain spots and rotating and all that stuff and keeping guys for it all makes sense. Not saying it doesn't. I don't think that this team is going to allocate the years that it would require for Pete and Bellinger and use those as the pieces that they want to surround a young Juan Soto with. That's just where I am. That's the way I look at it. And I understand where it makes sense in a vacuum for right now, and it does, or for the next year or two, totally makes sense. But I don't see it where Pete Alonso gets a 5-year deal for $125 million, 4 years, $125 million. And then Bellinger gets 6 or 7 years for $170 million. Like, I don't see it. I don't think that those are the players that Stearns wants. It would be one or the other in that sense, which then brings forth the questions that we would have anyway, moving forward about how to better this team, and still talking about Carson Benj as an option in center field, not having that secondary bat that you just mentioned, because I don't think they're signing both.
I understand that. But to me, where do you go? So, like, if you're talking about older guys clogging up roster spots on big money deals,
right? Who's
the guy that you're going to pair with Juan Soto to be the next? Like, you know, Juan Soto is young enough to be a part of the core now, but to be the leader of the core soon, next, when Lindor's a little older, when Nimmo's older. We talked with Manny Gomez last offseason about the Mets looking at Vlad Guerrero Jr. in an ideal world to pair him with Juan Soto. Well, that's gone. So who's the guy? Because if you don't do that with Pete and Bellinger, which I think we can all argue makes you a better team in 2026 and 2027 and probably 2028. Your concern is the next years after that. But if you don't do that, who are you pairing him with? Who are you pairing Soto with? Who's the guy? You know, when I said 2 weeks ago, not you, but like when I said 2 weeks ago, well, then maybe you trade Baty or trade Jet Williams and sign Bo Bichette. He's 27 years old. People are like, no, I don't want Bo Bichette. So you don't want Bo Bichette because he's not good enough, but he's the right age. But you don't want Bellinger because he's too old and not good enough. You want Bregman because Bregman's good enough, but he's too old. So, like, in a perfect, like, who do you pair? And I'm not coming at you, but like, I don't know what the solution is. So is it just like be marginally better in 2026 and hope that Benj is the truth and hope that Alvarez is the truth and hope that Baty is the truth? Like, you know, we say it all the time. Hope is not a strategy.
No, it's not.
So
it's not. And
I want winning baseball players. I
understand that wholeheartedly. I do. Like I said, I always just think the way I am when it comes to this stuff. I'm trying to, again, remove my emotion from it and look at it from the stance of what I've seen so far from this front office and how they're going to handle things. And again, you're not wrong in anything that you're saying. You want to win. And a lot of people are a lot of Mets fans are at the point where it's like, just want to win right now. Like I can't worry about 5 years. I want to win right now. And I understand the sentiment. I do. But I have a hard time with those players because I don't think it's the right players. And honestly, to your point that you just made, it's like marginally being better, this and that. I honestly think that this front office feels that the player is not available yet, that they want to pair with Juan Soto in terms of big money. I know someone, I think Patrick just said in the comments about Lindor. Look, Lindor's still here. I still think Lindor has 2 to 3 more years of his prime, but we're talking about in general with Juan Soto being your centerpiece for the next 14 years. What are you going to put him with? Because those guys are on the back end while his ride's just beginning. So who are you going to surround him with so you don't landlock your roster and you can't win with him? Like, that's the whole idea. And honestly, I don't think that they think that that player or players are available just yet. I don't.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Russell says sign Kyle Tucker. Truman Quinn says sign Kyle Tucker. Do you think Kyle Tucker is that kind of a player?
I think that Kyle Tucker is that type of player. Everyone on this show knows that I'm a Kyle Tucker fan. I understand.
He's 28, so he's a little bit younger than, or excuse me, a little slightly older than like the Bichettes of the world, and Vlad Jr. if he had hit free agency, like those guys hit free agency super early. This is like the average time. 28 is when most guys who come up and are stars hit free agency. And so he would be significantly younger than even Bellinger and especially, and Pete and especially Bregman. Let me ask you this, because I know you're a Kyle Tucker guy.
Yeah.
Would you sign Kyle Tucker and then just make Nimmo your DH and then figure out who plays left and right field between Tucker and Soto?
It would be Tucker, because you're going to obviously defer to whatever your near billion dollar signing wants to do. Look, I to answer the original question, I do think that Kyle Tucker is a name and player that fits more with what I'm saying in terms of next to Juan Soto. I don't think Kyle Tucker is going to happen because of all the things that have gone on with his teams in terms of contract to this point. And I don't think David Stearns wants to do that in that sense, where you already have a lot of those big contracts. It's like, it's not the right time. I think, like, again, this is me looking at it. Like, if I had my way, I'd be like, yeah, go sign Kyle Tucker, bring him in, do what John just said, put him in left field, put Nimmo at DH. We're living great. Fantastic glove. Yes, he's been struggling with the health lately, but I still think he's a fantastic ball player, and he's worth the money, and he's better defensively, and it would make this team better. 100%. I would love to have him on this team, but I don't think it's the right time in terms of where this team is, the contracts that they've doled out. I don't think they're going to go out there and give him $400 million. I don't. So again, it's a bad timing thing.
What about, this is far-fetched in many ways, but this player does fit the bill of what we're describing, and potentially, because of what's going on in the team that he plays for, maybe gettable. Maybe.
I know where you're going.
Odd Villain saying they want Tatis, but we don't live in that version of reality. Fernando Tatis Jr. He has a $340 million contract.
Less now, but yeah.
Well, right. Total value, but it is backloaded.
Okay. He
was making like an average of $15 million for the first couple of years of that. So he's owed a lot of money, over $200 million. He is super young. He is a verifiable superstar. He is a right-handed hitter. He is super athletic enough to play shortstop in the outfield and whatever. San Diego has spent a lot of money, but is also in a place where they probably need to shed some money because they have bad contracts. You can't trade Manny Machado.
Nope.
You cannot trade what's his name from
Jake Cronenworth.
Boston. Oh, I was gonna say the dude from Boston. But you can't trade Jake Cronenworth either on the deal he's on. You Darvish, Xander Bogaerts is the guy.
Xander Bogaerts, yeah.
You can't, like, Manny Machado, you could probably trade, but I don't think a lot of people want him because I don't think a lot of people, like, a lot of teams like Manny Machado. So you can't trade Machado. You can't trade Bogaerts. You can't trade Cronenworth. You can't trade you Darvish. They have so much bad money invested in places that you could make a case that trading their best player is the best way to get out of the most money. That would be the guy. If you could ever do it, that's the guy.
That's everything that I'm talking about right now. He fits the bill. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't, because I feel like that whole talk, everyone ran with it right away. Like, oh my God, they're going to start selling everyone off. Will they listen on things? I'm sure that they will, but these things have to progress, obviously, until something gets closer when it comes to a sale. That's when people start trying to, push things off. We saw the Twins do it when they're pushing things out because there might be a sale, or they're trying to bring in new, minority owners and things like that, whatever, just getting money off of the books, what have you. Like, that's the type of player that I'm talking about when it comes to pairing with your superstar moving forward towards your next core of this team. I'm not saying that that's going to happen right now, because odds are it is not. But that's what I'm getting at in terms of, would they rather spend the capital and that type of money bringing back for a Tatis, or would they rather just go out and sign Bellinger and Alonso? I think that they would rather trade for Tatis, for the youth, for the contract that he has, and for the presence that he would bring. That is something that I think that they would do. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Would it be cool? 1000%. It'd be so cool. But I think that that's the type of thing that they're trying to work towards in getting, as opposed to dishing out the money for those players at 30 years old and 32 years old.
Nick DeLuca, man, what a world. Get Tatis, Cattell, re-sign Pete, trade for Scooble. Fuck it. Yeah.
You jump on that Twitter. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. I mean, but I wish, I imagine having that team, but yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Let me ask you this. Does this bother you? A lot, always Froza, but a lot of people are saying this. Tatis is a platinum glove, but has the same numbers as Nimmo since he stopped juicing. A lot of people talking about the suspension for steroids and stuff. I, for one, don't give a fuck. I do not care. He's 26. He made a mistake. There's a chance, Ibby, that he's the juice put the, helped him get the contract. I understand that, because of the numbers he was putting up, but there's a chance that he's not even fully into his body type yet, where he could put up those numbers without the juice in a year.
There's also the difference here. I understand what is being said in this comment, because a lot of times people do flock to a name as opposed to looking at the numbers. That happens a lot in football too, where we look at just the name of someone, like, oh my God, you got to have X player. He's like fantastic. But it's like, yeah, but the guy you have is putting up the same numbers. You just think that so-and-so has a sexier name and is more popular in that sense. This wouldn't be talked about. Right. This wouldn't be talked about if Brandon Nimmo was the same age, but Brandon Nimmo's not the same age. Like, Brandon Nimmo's 33 and he's lumbering as an outfielder. There's a difference there. It's downslope moving forward, as opposed to what someone could think. Like, if I could get the Nimmo numbers, or a little bit better than those Nimmo numbers, again, moving forward for the next
with a platinum glove.
With a platinum glove, like, that's a different story. That's a different type of ball player. Like, I'm sorry, it is.
I'm going to bring up something. We've talked a lot about some of the great stuff that people have put out. We try to big up other content creators whenever we can. Ant Rivera's in the comments, and Joe DeMeo. We've talked a lot about. He jumped in the comments, and Carson and Mets Weekly and all those folks. And we've talked a couple times.
Carson.
About a dude who's been a guest on this show a couple times too, does a great job as well. Ryan Finkelstein, Locked on Mets. Yeah. And this kind of brings, I think this will be the last thing we talk about because we're over 2 hours, but this brings the whole conversation together, I think, Ibby. He was talking about potential trades, hypotheticals in a Brandon Nimmo situation. Okay. And he mentioned 3, and one of them ties into this. He said, in order to get Nimmo to waive his no trade clause, you'd have to be sending him to a place that is actively trying to win. You'd have to be sending him to a place that is a fun place to live, right? He likes New York. His wife likes New York, like Keith said. So, and you have to, there's a lot of, the only ways you can entice him to do that where he's a positional fit are 3 places. One, he said you could send him to Houston and take back a bad contract on a shorter term like Christian Walker. They have too many third basemen, first basemen now. They need a left fielder. You could make that make sense. They're still trying to win. It aligns with Brandon Nimmo. The other one was Detroit. Little less of a positional fit, but you could send him there. They need a bat like him. You take back a bad contract for a shorter term like Javi Baez. But the third one he mentioned, which is pipe dream scenario, was can you trade Brandon Nimmo with prospects to San Diego in a deal that gets you back Fernando Tatis Jr.? He's like, there's a 0.001% chance of doing that. But you're sending him to a team that spends money, that contends, that's trying to win, that's a great place to live in San Diego. Like, and that's far-fetched, but I think the idea starts to make some sense where you're like, we're taking an outfielder. We'll give you an outfielder. Some of Nimmo's money offsets the money for Tatis, but obviously Tatis has 10 years left on his deal. Massive money. And we're going to give you prospects. We're not trying to give you Brandon Nimmo for Fernando Tatis, but like you take Nimmo and you're getting whatever, Jet Williams, Carson Bench, Brandon Sproul, pick your people that you want. You're getting them still, but you're also taking Nimmo. I thought that was very, very interesting. Also, Truman, you're 100% right.
It's yes, you have to be creative in that sense. And that's something where I said, if it makes sense, I'll accept and not put those types of mocks into the safe like I did prior. But you really have to think about it. You really got to look at the money. It has to make sense. Sure, something like that could happen, but I think ultimately, when it comes to like you just said, like it's the 0.000000001% chance of something happening. When the day that they deal Fernando Tatis because they're trying to alleviate the books for a sale, they're doing it for guys that are extremely young prospects, haven't hit arbitration yet, high upside. Like that's what they're doing it for. They're not going to, even though offsetting money in certain spots, like I don't think that they would want to do that. I think they would want to clear books as opposed to taking on anything back. So that's why making this the so small percentage of happening is proper. But ultimately, in the end, the point I was getting at is the player that I think that this team wants to pair and move forward with as a core piece, I don't think has become available just yet. I'm not sitting here telling you a name, but I can say if you mentioned names, I could say if that person fits the bill. Fernando Tatis is a player that fits the bill. I don't think Bellinger fits the bill in that sense.
Let me just ask you one last thing. And it's going to put you on the spot because I truly can't think of one. So it's okay if you just can't think of one.
Okay.
Is there another player besides Fernando Tatis Jr. that you can think of? Legitimately. Because I can't. You know, that player was Vlad Guerrero Jr., but I can't. So who's the other player?
Are you saying that, in time becomes available or just like who fits the bill? Like which one do you mean?
Like, yeah, who would fit the bill of like young enough to pair with Soto in an ideal world that the Mets might be salivating on, oh, this guy will be a free agent in 2 years, or this person is somebody we're going to try to, like, they are signed to a contract, but we're going to try to trade for him. That's why, like, Vlad Guerrero signs the extension, he's out. Even though Tatis has the contract, he's not out because of the situation the team is in. So who else is young enough that fits that vibe? Who's the guy that you could think of?
I can think of two players that I can say with confidence will not be signing extensions and not staying with those teams, and odds are they probably will get traded at some point. Number one, Ellie De La Cruz. Number two, Gunnar Henderson.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
Do you think both of those players would come? Yeah, Carson says Ellie De La Cruz at the same time. And Armand, for the Paul Skeens thing, I'm talking about position players to pair with Soto as an everyday player. Would those players in your mind, and this is just a fun exercise, are they coming to the Mets at a time and playing shortstop and Lindor is moving? Do you think that happens like enough in the future that Lindor moves off that spot, or do those players come over and play a different position?
I don't think Ellie is going to be playing shortstop for that much longer.
I agree with that, but Henderson probably will.
Henderson probably will, and by the time he's free, I think that at that point, which is I think 2 years from now, you could be seeing a transition for someone like Lindor. I think that is possible. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's a fun.
But again, fun exercise.
It's a fun exercise, which is all I was trying to do.
The types of players that I think that they're trying to hunt. And look, I want to preface this also. I'm not sitting here and saying that this team needs to sit on their hands and do nothing and just lose until said players become available, because as we've seen before, sometimes players do not become available. They get traded elsewhere and they sign with those teams instead. I'm not saying that I want my team to sit here and do nothing. You have to make changes. You have to get better. I'm just saying that I think they're struggling right now when it comes to what players that they want to build their own. I really, truly believe that they don't want to landlock themselves in high-end contracts for guys that are more likely to go on the downhill as opposed to rising up because of the contract that Soto has. That's all that I'm saying.
Yeah, and the reason why we got into this exercise is because people, my logic around guys like Bellinger and Alonso together versus Ibby's logic of what he just laid out. And the fact that, it's become a topic of conversation for the entire show, and it's unlikely, but if you were ever to trade a player like Nimmo, it does open the door for you to sign a player like Kyle Tucker, which checks the box that you're talking about. But it's kind of like Tucker is the right player at the wrong time.
Yes, that's what I think it is. Exactly.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the right player at the right time until he signed the deal. If Vladimir Guerrero doesn't sign the extension, the Mets are signing him this offseason, and Pete is walking, and that is the move. I guarantee you that. And this is not revisionist history. This is something we talked about last year. We're like, that's what the Mets are going to do. They're going to sign Vlad Guerrero Jr. And then they didn't have the opportunity to. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, thank you, Armand. Gunnar Henderson's final year of arbitration is 2028. He will be 28 years old. There you go. Ibby, this was fun. Lot of
Always
stuff.
Fun.
A long show, 2 hours, 11 minutes. But we got a lot of stuff out there.
300 people here.
300 folks.
Like the video.
Like the video.
Do us a favor. Like both videos. That'd be even better.
Yeah,
like
that's
both
cool.
Videos, whichever side that you're on. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I haven't checked the subs if they've grown, but we're closing in. I think we're 16 or 17 subs away from 1,400 on actually now 15 away now from 1,400 subs on YouTube. Make sure you sub the channel. The only way you can become a part of the conversation is making sure that you are subbed to the channel. Like the video, like both. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Ibby, breaking news from Carson. Thank you. Raisel Iglesias re-signs with the Braves on a 1-year deal. That is
his entire contract is going towards the Atlanta Braves Foundation. Thank you, Raisel. Get lost.
But that is a closer off the market. So,
Carson comes into my chat with Braves news. Get the hell out. I'm about to ban you. Get the hell out of here.
No, listen, I don't think it has massive effect on the Mets because I think the Mets are Edwin Diaz 1, Devin Williams 2. I think that's where they're going to play as far as that goes. Like we said earlier, hope they get both of them. While we have about 300 people here, Ibby, I do want to say, started out as a joke. It is becoming real. I will be doing a second show on the Til Mets Do Us Part channel. It will be available in all of the places that this show is available. It'll be called something different because the vibe is going to be different. The live chat is such a big part of what we do. I joked around about it, and then you and I talked about it. You gave me some great ideas, took them, ran with them. And so I will be doing a weekly show on Fridays where it is purely driven by the questions and the comments from the chat. Just me and the chat. Will be called Walk Off Whiskey. Shout out to Ibby for the name. And you guys know I like a whiskey. I will pour one whiskey, rocks, not neat, because I'm not a psychopath. I prefer my whiskey a little cold. I will pour one whiskey and I will answer questions and comments until the drink is done. And I think it's going to debut soon, but it is going to happen for sure. So I hope if you're already subscribed here, you'll be getting it. It'll be, available to you, but it's something I wanted to do. Second show, more content for the channel, more Mike Laverty, one shot per question, be a man. Listen, I can't do that because there are restrictions on what you can do as far as drinking goes on live stream. So that would not be allowed. Otherwise, fun. Carson saying, wow, 16 million for Iglesias. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, just sign Edwin Diaz. Anyway, shout out to Ibby for allowing me to do a show on this thing that is different from what we normally do. And I hope you guys, like Odd Villain. I hope you, if you do indulge, I hope you pour yourself a drink and join during the stream, because that's kind of the vibe. Just fun. We wanted to do something that was fully led and driven by the comments and the questions and the people who have been a part of this show for a long time. So, yeah.
I love it. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, and I'll try to jump in the comments whenever I can. And I'm not a brown liquor drinker, but if this is what's going to, pop my cherry when it comes to drinking brown liquor at some point, maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll find out. The only way you'll know is by tuning in.
Yes, and debut episode, don't know yet when, but if you follow, Sauced with Saponaro from Odd Villain, that's also a good name. But again, I don't know if there's restrictions on using something like that. They get real weird about it. Anyway, this has been fun. If you follow me, if you follow the show, if you follow Ibby on all the social media platforms, you'll know when the new show drops, when the debut episode is going to be. It does not replace this show. We'll still be rocking with you every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern or thereabouts. Subscribe to the channel, like the video on the way out, like the vertical video.
Like them both.
Join our Substack. We're probably going to do some stuff on Substack that will be exclusive once the season rolls around. So we got a while for that, but join the Substack. It's free to join. And go ahead and take care of that. Follow us across social media. If you missed any of the show, you can listen and watch as soon as we're done here on the YouTube channel, or this will drop as an audio podcast in a couple of hours. I'm John. That's Ibby. This has been Til Mets Do Us Part for 2 hours and 16 minutes. We will see you next week. Peace.